Okay.
Helene, I'm so happy to see you. Happy New Year.
Thank
And
you. Same to you.
2024, here we go.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here. Very excited that you're doing this for one thing. It's great.
Thank you. I'm glad. I mean, I feel like my mission at this time and what I've been called to do is to elevate and promote actors, writers, directors, multi-hyphenates who are creating work in the world, artistry, whether it's film or theater or books or scripts, whatever, that sort of thing, I feel is critical, is necessary in our society, especially when we're going through traumatic things in our lives. It
Mhm.
helps us to see that we're not alone, right?
Yes, that there's a light. There's lights out there.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
need storytellers, and we're
Yes, absolutely.
right. So Helene, tell us a little bit about yourself, your business. What would you like folks to know about you?
Well, it's so funny that you said the word multi-hyphenate because I always had a lot of interests, but growing up, you were always sort of, no, you have to pick one or you can't do them all. And it was called like, oh, you're a jack of all trades, but then the unspoken one, but a master of none,
Yeah, yeah.
or you're scattered, or how come, even my parents in the early days, well, how come you keep changing? How come you keep changing
Mm,
jobs? How come? And the funny thing is, and we had a talk about this years ago when they were alive, that it was a good thing because this way I am employable because we have seen such a shift. Well, they saw it being older, the shift in our society where there is no safe career, there is no safe job. And to have the ability to go, okay, well, this industry is stopped for a while or is gone. What else can I do? But the technology helps too. I think the
yeah,
technology of being able to pursue everything I've always wanted to pursue. So that being said, acting and performing have been in me since I was little. And but I've always loved working with kids. So I was a teacher. My parents had their own business, and so I helped them out. And so I loved being in front. I guess that's part of the performing. So I also have a background in sales.
hmm
And I was a temp counselor, and I was a maitre d' of a very huge celebrity-driven restaurant. But so yeah, it's all good. But right now, I am an actor. I'm a casting director. I work in the indie market, and I'm a writer. And the pandemic actually gave me the time to write because it's hard because the first two are collaborative. Writing is you're by yourself. In
yeah.
fact, when we get off today, I have put it in big letters. You're setting your laptop in another room and you're going to work on the book that's been sitting there for a long time. So,
Exciting.
yeah.
What's the book going to be about?
Well, it's a passion project. Never really, when I was little, I would say I'm writing a book and then I get bored after the third chapter. So I prefer shorter works, but I'm writing about revisiting a TV show that was such a big deal when I was growing up. It kind of still is. I don't know if you remember Dark Shadows, the original TV show.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was watching it in real time. I was one of the kids that ran home from school. In fact, that's the title. And I revisited it several years ago. First, when I was caregiving my parents, and then when the pandemic, and I went back and I started watching every episode because in those days, if you missed an episode, too bad.
Yeah.
Now it's like at my fingertips. And I started looking at the show through the eyes of an actor and casting director because I was scared in the beginning. I was like, sometimes you love something as a teen and then you see it as an adult and you're like, ooh, what was I thinking? I was even more impressed
Mm,
because I was looking at it going, oh my God, like, the casting of the show and the acting and this, and they were doing it live and they couldn't say stop tape and the story was still drawing me in.
Mm.
And on Facebook, there's all these groups. There's still fans. And the funny thing is I've gotten to actually know a couple of the actors that I've admired. So anyway, that's what the book is. It's just sharing how it seems to go in and out of my whole life. It's not just what I watched when I was a young teen. One of my acting teachers was the associate producer. I don't know, it just keeps coming back. And all my friends go, did you know that my father, recorded when they did these audio versions? I'm like, everybody sort of come out of the woodwork. So I just want to, finish it. I'm going to self-publish it and get it out there and just know that I accomplished something.
Excellent. It's like a thread through your life, right?
Yes, and that's what surprised me because it wasn't just something, as I said, from my teen years when I started thinking about it.
Mm.
Um, I've always it sort of fostered my feeling for I'm not this magical psychic, but I get a lot of my feelings through dreams.
Mhm.
I can feel things, and that show talked about it, and I never talked about it to anybody because
Yeah.
it was too spooky.
It'd
But
be weird or something, right?
yeah, it was really well. But I also love the supernatural. I love horror, the supernatural, but more the paranormal. I'm more attracted to that, the things that can't be explained.
Mysteries of life, right?
Yeah,
The mysteries beyond what we can see.
exactly. And the art of a good story. That's why I was trying to figure out. I wrote a tribute on the show. It's on my website. It was in 2016 when they celebrated the 50th anniversary. And one of the questions was, why am I still drawn to something? I know the story. It's not a surprise. It's from a long time ago. And then I came up with the answer and I said, it's simply great storytelling. We root for the characters.
Yeah,
It brings up emotions in us. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So you're writing a book. What other projects do you have going on right now besides the book?
Well, I actually have my second one act play that I've written is actually in a festival opening at the end of February. It's
Yeah.
part of the Chain Theater One Act Festival. So I was very excited about that. I am in a lot of writing groups. Actually, the first one I wrote won honorable mention when it was on Zoom. It was during COVID, and
Wow.
it was called Dating 2020, and I was supposed to get a live presentation of it as a gift for the award, but we thought COVID would end in 6 months and it
Oh,
didn't.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. It was from the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, and I wrote my first monologue, and I was on their fundraising evening during the pandemic, but they have since changed their programming. So yeah, it's no longer for theater, but I was thinking about it and thinking, you know what, it would make a better short film because there's a whole reveal that you could do on Zoom that would be very hard to do on stage. So that's on my radar. That's what I'm going to also be developing is the script for the short film. But the second one act that I wrote called Requiem for a Bench, that is a lot easier to put on. It's two men and a bench. And they always like minimal sets and props. So that's yeah, that got accepted to the Chain Theater One Act Festival. So I'm very excited. I got to hire a director who actually directed me in a play last summer
Hmm.
along with a few of my friends, and he's wonderful. And two of the actors, one I didn't know so well, but the other one I've called back quite a few times. So I'm finally glad that I was able to cast him. I mean, I let the director make the final decision, but we were on board, with both.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. It's it's a spoof of Zeus story, or as I like to say, when Zeus story meets the cable guy,
It's so
trouble
fun.
ensues.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, so I'm excited about that, and it'll be on an evening with five other plays. So
Great. And that's in February?
yeah, there's 3 dates. It's the 24th, 27th, and March 2nd.
Okay. Put that in.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. So Yeah, so I'm wearing the writer producer hat. I mean, the festival's producing the entire festival, but then each play is,
Yeah.
producing, so getting all the things in. And a very good friend of mine did a show logo for me, so a little picture. So it was, of the play. So I
Wonderful.
know I've been so grateful to all the support.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds great.
yeah.
So, so writing,
Mhm.
directing, casting, producing, acting. Did I say that already?
Yeah, you did. Just to clear, I've never really directed. However, it's not that far.
Yeah.
When I've had casting panels,
Hmm.
and I remember I got my first one, and they said, "Could you give the actors feedback?" Because before I was just talking, and I remember going, "Oh my God, I've never directed. I'm not an acting teacher," but I really started listening to my instincts because casting, a lot of it is instinct.
Sure.
And now I've gotten really good at it, and I love doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can call me that, I guess. No, but I've actually never directed a thing, and maybe I've been I always have reminded myself not to say I don't do, because
Yeah.
when I started writing again, somebody said, "Well, why don't you write like a play or something?" I don't do dialogue, and then I've got two things out, so I have to remind myself to say, "Don't say I don't do."
Yeah. You can say up until now I haven't, but you never know, right?
You never know. So yeah, I said, "Oh, I don't know if I could direct, blah blah blah," but you know what? I'm going to take that out of my
Yeah.
language and not
That's
say that. Yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
Because you never know what's gonna pull you,
hmm,
like this book called to
yeah,
you, right?
yeah. It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, do you feel like there's a favorite thing that you like doing, or do you like the variety and more of a harmony in your life where, like with a jazz band, each instrument has its moment to shine?
Hmm.
Is there that feeling of sometimes I like to be focusing on this, and then other times I like to focus on, the writing or, or do you have a favorite?
No, well, I guess acting will probably be always number one, but I think you just described what I do. Like, oh, well, this summer I got to be in a play for the first time in a while. I mean, I was doing readings and films, um, but I hadn't been on a play, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I have to memorize lines again. But it was fine. I drilled myself, I just sat there and drilled, and the habits came back, and I loved it. And then I had some really good casting projects this fall,
Mhm.
and I love that. And now I love writing. So I think you hit the nail on the head. I think I'm taking whatever's flowing in my world, and I go for it. And it's funny. I was working in sales where it was, first of all, I love to eat. I love food. So I worked for a restaurant company. I was representing all the restaurants to the New York City hotel concierge community, and a lot of them are artists too. So I just had a blast doing that. And I also had a belief that I'm going to spend hours not doing performing. I don't want to be at a job I hate. So yeah, so I said I really really like that. And I found that having multiple, at that time I was casting and I was acting and I was doing that, because I said sometimes you hit a snag in one of them, or you bump your head against something and you're like, oh, this is getting me mad, or this is irritating me, or whatever. And then I've got something else to, balance
Yeah, right.
to balance it. Yeah. Or just, I don't mean angry, I mean more like frustrated. Like if you're frustrated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get you.
Yeah, so I like having a lot. So I'm not, going, oh my God, when's my next job go? Because if you're a freelancer, and that I see gets in the way. I see a lot of artists do that, and it's like, yeah, I know. I've had quite a few auditions in the first half of this month. Right now it's quiet, but I don't really want to get plugged into that. And I know last year, sometimes the second half of the year, like last year, I was studying, I was doing things. All of a sudden, June hit,
Mm.
shoom, until the end of November. I was casting a few projects at the same time, even. So yeah, you
I
go
think
with the
soon it
flow.
got busy.
Yeah, yeah, and you go with the flow. And I like having all those outlets available to me.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And it keeps you, I mean, when we talk about balance and harmony, the
Hmm.
difference to me is, well, balance, like if you're on a seesaw as a kid,
Yes.
the fun is the going up and down. And then sometimes you're like, all right, let's see if we can just get it balanced, right?
Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
then it's boring to just sit there. You really want the up and the down, right? So that's where harmony comes into play,
Mm-hmm.
um where balance can feel good to when you need to rest,
Yes.
but the harmony is where different things in your life can be your focus. Sometimes it's your family, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's job, sometimes it's rest, sometimes it's
Yeah.
reading a book. I think it's good, especially for artists and
Mhm.
performers, to really have a full spectrum life so they have things to draw from. If they're only focused
Yeah.
on getting the job all the time and they're not living their life, then it's hard to bring your experience to the characters you're playing, right?
No, that's so true. It's funny, a casting director friend of mine many, many years ago said that, saw an actor's frustration. We were doing in a class, and he said, like, live your life, go out and do stuff. And I remember listening to that going, like, it was almost like a fright. Like, what do you mean live my life and go do stuff and not concentrate on acting? Like, that was like, it was like ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, it's so true. And well, you know what also has changed? This is another thing that's changed. Even back, I remember in the 90s, as I said, I was getting known being a maitre d' in this restaurant, and I was joking, going, God, I wish my acting career would make me as famous. But I loved it. It was, it was crazy, but it was fun. But I remember in those days, they said, oh, don't mention that you work in a restaurant, or don't mention you do something else. Like, you had to come off as a working actor, you're professional, that's all you do. That has changed.
Yeah.
Now people want to see you as a person. They want to hire the person. So
Yeah.
they want to know that you have had other backgrounds and that you have worked in other areas. So that's a huge plus.
Yeah, they want to see real people up there.
Yeah,
And that's really what it is actors are reflecting human behavior when they're on stage or on film. And
exactly.
because we want to see ourselves, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
you're not,
It's your experiences that make you, and I think also you're just from a emotional mental place, you want to be content and happy and not feel like, oh, I'm trying to climb up a ladder that I'm slipping down, or, I think now there's no such thing as a ladder. It's I once bought a Kandinsky print because I went, oh my God, that's how I feel right now. Like, it was kind of doing this and this and this and that. But that's what they say. That's sometimes the way your career goes.
yeah,
And but ultimately, I think you need self-satisfaction. And nowadays, again, with the technology, that, like, you can produce things.
yeah,
You can make things up. You don't have to wait for people. You can promote yourself.
right. Yeah, that's right.
So that's a huge plus. And also too, I think sometimes we get involved in the shoulds.
Oh
I
yeah.
should do this, I should. They say, you that was a line from an old Sex in the City episode. We have to stop shoulding over ourselves.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah, or what looks good on paper.
And
Yeah,
then our shoulers. These are our
yeah,
shoulers.
that's right. Yes,
All the
exactly.
weight of the world is on our shoulders.
Uh, yeah, and I think sometimes I find myself, oh, no, maybe I should take this, and then I'm like, no, what is it that you really want to do?
Yes. The one of the most
Yeah,
important questions you can ask yourself is
what
what
is it that you want to
love?
do?
What would you
Yes.
love?
Or what's the why? I got that. I do a lot of uh classes, in not so much classes, but seminars,
Mhm.
in the mindset,
Yes.
and think really looking at that. And so I remember I got from one, what is your why?
Yeah.
Go back to that.
What would you love and why is that and why is that something that lights you up? And the other thing that you hear is don't
Yeah.
do what you think you should do. Do what makes you come alive, because we all
Yes.
need more people that are alive in the world and
Yeah.
happy,
That's what
you
it is.
know, doing
Yes.
what they love doing.
But that philosophy, as I said, it took me a while. I think it takes a lot of people a while because basically we're not brought up that way.
Right.
It's like, yes, definitely you have to work. We have to, you have to pay your rent, you have to buy food, you gotta buy clothing. But that gets left out, I think, a lot in our life's learnings.
Hmm.
You can have both.
Yes. Yes. And right.
Yes, and that's right. Improv, first rule.
So, Helene, if
Yeah.
you could wave a realistic magic wand, where
Mhm.
would you like your life to be in 6 months, a year? What does it look like? Say I haven't seen you in a year's time, and it's January 2025, and I say, Helene, I haven't seen you in so long. What is
What's
going on?
going on?
Like, what has
Ah,
happened in the past?
well, yes. Well, some things I actually have planned this year, and then some things are going to be in the universe. So when I see you next January, I will have already gone to Paris after it'll have been my first trip, and I'll tell you all the exciting things on that trip. I will have my book will be out and will be selling, and my short film will be at least written and filmed. Let me see what else. The acting part. I will have a very substantial, juicy role in a much talked about independent film.
Mm.
So I'm covering all the bases. And what else? And just to continue to keep making a difference in people's lives. And then also there's going to be some unknown things because things come up that I didn't plan, or somebody proposed to me and I'll go, oh, okay, let me do that.
Yeah.
I'd like to be a speaker also. I have an essay I wrote that I'm actually reformatting for some other publications. I call myself an age activist.
Oh, good for you. I love
Yes.
that.
And I think that's really important. And my essay originally was focused on the self-shaming of aging, not what society's doing.
That's what we do to ourselves.
You yourselves, yes.
Yeah.
And stop that. Just claim your years and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I claimed my gray.
Claimed it. Yeah, but you even said, I remember when you did that,
Yeah.
and I remember thinking, oh my God, it fits her. Because I think that's what I write about. It's not like, oh, you should dye your hair, you shouldn't dye your hair. Like both sides are not right. What
Right.
is your personal aesthetic?
Yeah.
What fits you? But I remember you said you were getting more acting work that way. And so it's fun, but you feel like, this is me. And
Yeah.
I might feel like, okay, well, no, I still want to be a redhead. That is my personality, and I'm doing this. And we're both right, and we're both doing what fits us.
No
Yeah.
judgment, right? No judgment.
No, there isn't. It's wearing your spirit and your aesthetic choices to what fits you. It's your choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. So you have this full and wonderful life, traveling to Paris,
Mhm.
acting in a juicy role, promoting your wonderful book, you're filming your short film, and you're having a ball, and you're making a difference in the world, speaking about, owning your your age and your life and
Mhm.
your own personality, the way it feels good to you, and spreading that out in the world.
Yeah.
If you had that just the way you would love to have it, what would it do for you?
Um, it would just continue to just give me these wonderful feelings. I mean, even if I don't get the film or, the the other short film movie is not done, I'm not going to look at myself as a failure. It's just something that I'm aiming for. And really, it's the joy of doing it. It's,
Yeah.
it's just the joy of sitting down. I've actually spoken to several actors who are looking to collaborate, and that's sometimes hard with schedules and everything. But I think it's really the possibilities.
Mm.
There's a meme that I've actually sometimes posted on Facebook where it's a cartoon drawing. It's a woman and she's holding a cup of coffee. You can tell she just woke up, and it says, I love the smell of possibility in the morning.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's
And I
beautiful.
have that on the website, and it's true because I love my coffee, very into coffee. And it's like every morning. And, not to get, I don't know, not to get necessarily weepy about it, but I'm at an age now where a lot of people are not making it to this age.
Hmm.
And I'm really at the time of my life. I mean, well, I say it teasingly, but I kind of mean it. When people are saying, do we call you a senior, do elder? I go, I don't like any of them. I go, I'm a goddess.
You don't
I
need a
touch,
label.
yes. If you're gonna label me, I'm a goddess. I have reached the goddess part of my life where I have the wisdom, the magic. I said the only time I like the word senior is when it precedes the word discount.
Yes.
And then I'm all about it. I want my senior discount. I was like,
Earned it.
yes. But yeah, and I think there's too many people who are, as I said, the reason I wrote this article, it's men too, but I think women, because unfortunately in our society, we get skewered for so many things, way more than men do who are in the same position. But it's look, you've got, like, nowadays you've gotten here. And knock on wood, if you're in good health and you're curious, and you've got your friends, you have a support system, that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah.
But also, don't wait till you get to that age, try to find it every day, all the time, which is harder when you're younger because you do have more insecurities and things bother you more. I mean, I tell a lot of times younger people, I go, I know it's not going to make you feel good now, but just to know, every time you enter a new decade, it goes away a little bit because your
Yeah.
confidence in who you are,
Right.
you know. Yeah.
Yeah. And to be constantly working on yourself
Hmm.
and the things that help you grow.
Yes.
So if you had things just the way you wanted them, what I'm hearing you say is that the best part about it is the joy of the doing and the becoming who who become the continual growth and
Mhm.
discovery of the possibilities. Is that what you?
Yeah, I think you summed it up. I mean, honestly, yes, I would like more money, but that's not just for me. Sometimes and I've given to people, like, supporting, or sometimes an illness, or they're doing a film project. But I mean, sometimes I just wish I had a lot so I could, I don't know, just give to a foundation, start a scholarship,
Mhm.
help a theater out,
Yeah, yeah, I hear
things
you.
like that. So that's, and then yes, I would like a house on the beach. Okay. I'm a beach lover. So, okay. I'll
Oh,
think a little bit about myself, but I sometimes wish I had more because I love to give to other people too. So what
yeah.
I can sometimes do financially, I give my time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like tithing with time or money.
Hmm.
They say, if you want to receive something, a particular area of your life, that's where you need to give. Or it's
Yes.
sort of like you wouldn't say to a wood stove, okay, give me some heat. Well, I can't give you heat till you give me some wood. Well, I'm not going to give you wood till you give me some heat. Well, it doesn't work like that. That's not
Right.
how, that's not the law of reciprocity.
Got it.
So it's so when you this is what I've been taught is when you want to receive more money, give
Mhm.
what you can to something that's
Mhm.
important to you and
Yeah,
watch how it come back.
goes back. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that nothing is ever lost. It's in the bank of the universe.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good one.
Just put a demand note on the bank of the universe bearing interest.
Well, I do find it's so funny because sometimes I will, kind of just think to myself, oh, I'm a little broke, blah, 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 blah. I also take care of kids. And then right after that thought goes in, from my head, um, I get a job, somebody books a job with me. And I'm just like, I said, as I make a joke, I go, I think the universe is sick of me like bitching. So I said, all right, here's a job, go take it.
Yeah.
I find that it happens then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've had that experience as well.
yeah.
So do you feel like is there anything that could be slowing you down, standing in the way, or stopping you from having all of the wonderful things that you would like, including the beach house and the financial freedom to be able to give to causes that are important to you, to make the films that you want to make and create whatever it is? What might be slowing you down?
I think it's that's such a great question. I think even though I think I need to trust a little bit more because I think I'm too used to looking at those things. It's sort of a habit when you look at certain things like um that are not as close that you think, well, yeah, those are my dreams, but the dreams are sort of floating, you know, as opposed to, yeah, this is what I want and I'm going to go for it. So
Mm,
I think I'm going to take responsibility. And discipline is one thing too. That's what the writing is for me, is to work on that because, as I said, uh, there's no one standing over me. That's why sometimes deadlines help.
right.
So I
The
may have,
self-discipline.
yeah, the self discipline, but the real belief and trust in some of those things needs to get stronger.
Mm,
Because that's where it really comes back to, is the trust.
yeah. Trust in what
And
specifically? Trust
well,
in
trust in that I can reach these high goals,
so
that it isn't just,
self-confidence?
yeah, it's not, it's just trust that they're doable, that
Yeah.
they're not just dreams.
Yes. Yes, because and I think I wrote about this yesterday, how thoughts thoughts cause your results. Your
Yes.
thoughts cause your feelings, how you feel inside. Like when you feel happy, you take different actions than you would if you feel sad or down or depressed. So your thoughts cause your feelings, and your feelings cause your actions. And when you feel confident, you take different actions than you do when you're feeling insecure.
Yeah.
So your actions cause your results. So thoughts cause feelings, feelings cause actions, and actions cause results. So when you want to know what you've been thinking about, look at your results because your results don't lie. So when you want to change your results, you have to press the pause button on your thoughts.
Hmm.
Notice what you're thinking about and shift your thoughts to something that notice your discontent and your longing about what it is you would love in your life, and then place your focus on your dream, whether it's a book or a house or an acting job, and imagine yourself in that place where it's real for you, because everything is created twice, first in our thoughts
Yeah.
and then in form. Like the computer I'm looking at was first a thought before it ever became a thing.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Piggybacking on that, I also am a believer, as I said, I'm a Pisces, so that explains my spirituality. Uh, but I do believe in the power of the universe, and that we're all connected. And you're so right about the thoughts. And I've actually had that talk with some friends of mine when they're continually putting themselves down or being self-deprecating
Yeah.
or just, I'm in a negative state. I go, you need to flip the script. And that's a phrase I've been using a lot, so that sometimes even my little sensitivity will sometimes come up when somebody says something to think, and then I wait and let the reaction go, and I have to start looking at it differently.
Right.
Yeah, because you don't, because you're programmed, or just that's your makeup. But I also know too, by putting things out in the universe hears you, like you said, when you're saying positive things, and they go, okay, great, well, let's do it. But if you're like, oh, well, I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to get this, oh, okay, well, I guess not then.
Yeah, words are very powerful.
Yeah.
And the
Yes.
things we say to ourselves,
Mm,
especially.
right.
I
Well,
mean, some of the
that's,
things we
yeah.
say to ourselves, we wouldn't say to our worst enemy.
They say that I've told friends that I said, you should be kind to yourself the way you're kind to me.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you feel like would be slowing you down?
Um, no, I would say that would be it. It's, as I said, people think I do so many things. I'm always going, I have to work hard. Sometimes to overcompensate on the discipline, because, uh, and I say this again, part of the Pisces makeup is I'm on the cusp, so I have some of the Aries energy, but the Pisces, we like to dream, we daydream. People do that, they know about me when they see me on the street or sitting somewhere, and they say hi to me, and it takes me, I'm like on a 7-second delay. It takes me a second to come down to earth, focus on them. And so a lot of times they'll say, oh, it's so and so. And I go, no, no, I know. It's just taking me a few seconds to come down from the reverie or the daydreaming I'm in, to focus on, oh, you're right in front of me now and you're doing that. So that happens a lot too, because sometimes there's a difference between daydreaming, but you, like you said, but making your dreams your goals too. And so that's
Yeah, and taking
balancing
the
that.
dream of what you
Mhm,
would love
mhm,
and which, is not necessarily something that can happen overnight.
mhm.
Like an acorn doesn't become an oak tree overnight. It takes time, right?
Right.
So,
Yes.
and time is a funny thing, it's a funny concept.
Mhm.
So you break it down into those baby steps that you can take because baby steps will get you up Mount Everest, right? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right?
Think I ever heard that version, but that's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I know that I also have to have fun too. This
yeah,
week I'm going to be at a couple parties and events. I love to support people too. So I do go to see shows, not just for casting files, but, to support my friends. But this winter, I told everybody I am not going to be out and about as much. It's funny, I'm from upstate, but I feel like I've gotten less and less tolerant of the cold.
mm,
I'm a summer person anyway. Just I love summer. About end of February, beginning of March, I hate looking at my winter coats. It's like more layers. I just want to wear less layers. But so I told them I'm not going to be out all the time. I'm not seeing this, and I'm going to be home because I want to write and do other things,
yeah,
and it felt good, sticking to that too. And as I said, sort of watching my budget now, but I found that there's something called the shiny object syndrome, where you see things like, oh, sign up, especially in our business, sign up for this class, or do you have this? Do you have this? Are you lacking in auditions? Are you lacking work? Do you need? And I found myself, signing up for a lot of things that I never sort of went through.
mhm,
And then I realized that was coming from not feeling like enough. Like, it's one thing to go, oh, I'd love to study now, take another month or two and go back to acting, to say, like, you're making that decision yourself. But I was getting plugged into all this stuff. And I said, no, I have to stop, for a lot of times for budget reasons. But I found when I started using that as a reason, it helped strengthen it. And now I don't have to run to everything I see. And I don't feel bad. I don't feel guilty. And so I've noticed that change, and that's kind of exciting. That I did, and that's a distraction too. That's what people were. I was working with a coach. That's a distraction.
yes, right. The 3Ds that
Mhm.
pull us from that pull us towards the status quo, our paradigms, which are our belief patterns, whether
Mhm.
they're good or bad,
Right.
um, they will use the 3 Ds: distraction, dissuasion. Oh, you don't need to do that.
Right.
That's not a good idea. You don't, how will you do that? And the distraction is like squirrel, you know,
Right.
all the different, oh, I have to do my laundry first, or I need to vacuum the house, or whatever it is. Um,
Mhm.
and then the last one is DEF CON 1. And that's when like the crap hits the fan, when like an accident happens, or you get a
Ah,
diagnosis, or something terrible happens that keeps you from doing the thing that you know you want.
right. Wow.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
those those are the 3 Ds.
Yeah, no, that's good to, yeah, it's good to know. I haven't heard that put in that way, but it's so true. But I think at least I'm aware I'm doing it.
Well,
That was a
that's the
big
first
deal.
step,
You know?
right?
Yes, that I was aware I was doing it. And now I feel like, oh, it's so much easier to say no and not feel like I'm less than, or, I'm not sharing, or I'm not a good friend, or I'm not this. Or sometimes
Oh,
the answer is no.
right. And
You know,
that no is a powerful word.
it is. And
It, because
say it
saying
politely and all that, but yeah.
saying no to one thing allows you to say yes to another thing that's more
Ah,
important to you,
good.
right?
See, I love all this wisdom, and I just had coffee, and now I've got my wisdom after it. It's
You're
great. That's another thing too. You learn something new every day.
Yes,
It's so great when you go, ah, you get those ahs.
yes. Because life is always um we're either growing or we're dying, right? We're in it.
Mm,
Life is a spiral, and even our DNA is a spiral. So it's always wanting us to grow and become something more. So when we feel that pull toward, writing a book, or the pull toward a particular role, or you're feeling an intuition about casting someone, something is talking to you and saying, do this, go there. It's always best to listen to your intuition,
always.
because
Yes.
that's your higher self talking to you. And
Mhm,
when you don't listen and you distract yourself, or
mhm.
you dissuade yourself, it's like that little nudge from the universe saying, go this way. No, I don't want to. Go this way. No, I don't want to. And then finally, it gives you a big knock over the head with the DEF CON and says, pay
Yes,
attention to what I'm telling
I
you.
know. You're not listening. It's so true. And it's funny thing is, again, I've always been intuitive. And I was aware of it. Let's put it that way. But again, sometimes when you're being brought up, logic, you're
Yeah,
taught logic overpowers it. And I realized that whenever I did go, whether it meant how I felt about something, we do have like what they call the cave person of danger, from those days
yes.
where you feel it. But something else I learned over this last year, and this is a kind of a science fact, but the way our brains are wired, um, our brains our brains know the past and know
Hmm.
the present. And
Right.
that was a protection from the cave people
Yes.
days, to sense danger.
Yeah,
If something's unknown, you get that because
that's
you don't
right.
know it. And so then in our modern lives, sometimes that stops us. And I've even tried to explain it to some young kids I know who sometimes get scared about school or a new thing. And I said, just so you know, I get scared all the time when I'm
Mhm.
starting something new. But I explained two things. I said, first of all, your body reads fright the same way it reads excitement. It's almost the similar makeup.
Yeah,
And I tell them, you're going through that because your brain's trying to protect you. It's trying to say, but I don't know about this.
exactly.
And you can go, that's okay. I'm going to do it. And you say, thanks for sharing. And, but when I try to explain it that way, that's going to happen because of the biological and, physiological way we're made up.
Yeah, it's a
And when that
protective
thought,
device.
it does. And when that thought was introduced to me, I was like, wow, yeah,
Yes. Like a roller coaster. It's part fear and it's part thrill, right?
yes, yes. Because,
But you want to go on the ride. You want to
right.
experience the ups and the downs and that's it's also how we learn.
Mhm,
When if we try something and even if we're afraid, we get the experience. If we're successful, great, we keep going. If we're not, we learn that's not the way to do it. We try something else.
mhm,
It's all that becoming who we're meant to be by going through the experiences we have. And some experiences we wouldn't wish on our worst enemy, but in the end, if we can, we find the good that came out of it, the lesson that we learned, the skill that we learned. Um, that's what makes us who we are. It
mhm.
strengthens us.
I also think too, I mean, it's easier said than done when you tell people not to worry. But I
Mm,
know when I was going through some times like this, specifically when I started taking over my parents' care and the paperwork, I would be in a dance class and I started going, oh my God, how am I going to pay the caregivers and what is this? And then I finally said, you got to stop and get back, put your head back in the class
yeah.
because you go down a spiral.
Yes, a
And to
rabbit
me,
hole.
and right, the spiral, the rabbit hole. And I've also learned when you get into that, it actually paralyzes.
Yep.
It doesn't give you any ideas. It doesn't give you a way out. So I've learned to go, okay, and that's why I do that. One of the things I do when people have been all of a sudden taking over with their parents, I said, like every state is different, uh,
Mm,
every situation is different, but let me tell you what I did. Have you checked out this? Have you checked out that? Because I would keep a notebook. I visit, keep a notebook, what I did, what I'm going to do that when I come back, what I have to work on. I asked for help. That's a very big thing. People think they got to do everything by themselves.
yeah.
No, I have no problem. I'd love when people help me. That's one place I don't have an ego. It's like, no, 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 come help me. But anyway, I found that I couldn't, if I started thinking ahead, that didn't make it better. It's okay. I'm a big movie quoter, which is, you'll see a lot of movie quotes in my play, which is called Requiem for a Bench, the one that's being produced next month. And there was a line in Mean Girls, it was
Mhm.
during the math contest when she says, she's finally learns thinking somebody else is ugly doesn't make you better looking. Thinking somebody else is dumb doesn't make you smarter. And she goes, what you have to do in life is look at the problem that's right in front of you and try to solve it. And I always like that because it just simplifies things. It's just, okay, what is the next thing? That's what I
Yes.
have to solve.
Yes. Sort of like not expecting to have green lights down the whole highway before you back out of the driveway.
Right.
You want to do the next thing that you can do. Do what you can
Mhm.
from where you are with what you have, right?
Right. And that's how you get to it. And it also, as I said, makes you stronger. I'm just saying that I just found the whole, giving into the fear and the worry and all that I just get paralyzed. Or when somebody goes, even I had to stop myself. Let's say I never have produced a short film and I know what other people are going through. And I thought, oh no, how am I going to get the money and how to get this? And I don't know anything about this. And then I went, stop. First of all, you know enough people who know stuff. And when the time comes, you know,
Yeah.
meanwhile, why don't you try writing it? Write it first,
Take
so
the first step.
write
Yeah.
it first. So yeah, and people are out there and yeah, so it comes up in all areas of your life. And again, I think that's our brain protecting us. And you
Absolutely.
just have to say, thanks for sharing.
Yes. I like to say fear can come along for the ride, but it can't be in the driver's seat.
Ooh, that's a good one too. Yeah, yeah, that's great.
So the challenges of discipline and the trusting that the universe has your back, maybe.
Mhm.
How long do you think you've been dealing with that challenge in your life? And what's the worst part about it?
Of discipline, I think I've always had it. See, I blame it on my son's side. It's but excuse me, I do find that when it didn't mean that, oh, nothing ever got done,
Mhm.
and it didn't mean I didn't do things at work. Actually, what's interesting is the jobs I've had outside of acting had to do with running big places and being in charge of many details.
Wow.
So I do have that switch that when it
Um,
comes
That's
to,
that's a producer if I ever heard one.
right, I mean, running a sales office, running a restaurant. I mean, I wasn't running it from the manager point of view, but I was still running the desk, which
Yeah.
had to deal with,
A lot of
the
moving
part
parts.
of it. Yeah. I dealt with the part of the restaurant before the people even ate, and that's, yeah, I remember I used to stress that when sometimes managers didn't want to pay like the hostesses or reservationists, because I was the maitre d, and I was like, you know what? If you don't get good people there, they're not going to get in and taste your food and experience the service. That was a very hard concept that a lot of them did not get.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I remember that. But yeah, I've had those jobs where I was, I remember my first really big sales job. So the you know manager of the office, it was a wholesale in children's clothing, was taking me around, kind of showing me my duties, and you'll be in charge of ordering all this, and then you'll be doing. And I actually felt the blood drain from my face. And I remember thinking, oh God, I'm never going to be able to do that. And but I don't know, I just went into it. And then like within a few months, I was answering 5 lines on the phone. You know what I did? A lot of times people would ask like where our other offices are, and I didn't want to keep running back to my desk. I memorized them all. So if I picked up a phone from any part of the office, it was a big office, I could had all the information in my head.
Oh,
And yeah, and then all of a sudden, months down the road, I was ordering food for 100 people and making hotel reservations. But it's so funny, you get so like again, it's the worry is the imagination being put to
yeah.
negative use, and then you do it, and then you're like, oh, isn't that funny? Now I'm doing it in my sleep.
Yes. It takes just as much energy to imagine the worst as it does to imagine the best. So why
Best,
not
yes,
put your energy into imagining what you would love in your life?
exactly. Yes. Oh my God, that's a good one. I
Yeah.
love all these gems you are sharing with us today.
Well, and you're providing the examples of
Yeah.
why they are true and work.
Yes.
So if if these challenges were not an issue for you and you were moving freely towards your goals, including the beach house and
Yeah.
the full bank account, what would that do for you?
Honestly, I don't know if it would necessarily make me happier in a general sense, because a lot of people who do acquire the fame and money, they still have their other stuff going on, and it doesn't make things better. And in fact, sadly, in our society, it's hurt a lot of people.
Mhm.
It's not the answer. I think I just, yes, I would love it to share and have more fun and go travel more and all that. But honestly, I don't think it would necessarily add um to my general well-being now, because you can look at it and again, this is gonna sound funny. Yeah, you have this beach house, but hey, now I got to take care of it. Now I got to pay for it. Like I'm not saying that that's bad.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have a big film, but then the film's over. Now what's next? Can I get into television? Can I do this? I got to keep it going now. And I'm not saying these are bad things,
Mhm.
but I think people sometimes don't, when they get those things, they think, oh, well, everything's going to be perfect now. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, life has more challenges.
Right. Like I said, the ever spiraling
Yes.
upward that
Yes.
life wants us to grow. And so we reach this plateau and then okay, there's always going to be what's next.
Right. Yes.
Because if we settle back, then and just stay on that seesaw that's not moving,
Mhm.
and we're just hanging out, it's nice for a while to rest, but then it gets boring. So we're pulled to something else. There's always, just like you don't brush your teeth once and you're done. You're going to
Mhm.
brush your teeth every day. That's true of our dreams and our goals too, I think. And our dreams and goals will evolve as we do. So it's the growing, which is why I think people who win the lottery are
Mhm.
often, not long after, go right back to where they were financially before they won, because they didn't become the person who's a millionaire inside.
Mhm.
They still have the same mindset they had when they were broke or whatever, or
Right.
wherever they were. It's the growing into becoming the person who has a thriving business or a thriving acting career, or who can produce multi-million dollar projects. You become that person who can give freely, and I think that's a process that um that's why the journey is part of the fun.
Mhm.
It's who we become in the process of achieving our goal. It's not the goal in itself that's so great. Like it feels good. Like, I won this award. Woohoo! That feels good and we get celebrated and it's good for our ego and all that. But it's who we became on the journey to getting there. That's when you hear those speeches at the award ceremony, the ones that really mean something to you
Mhm.
are the ones who heartfelt grew on the way and recognized the people who helped them get there.
Yes.
Don't you
Yeah,
feel?
I do. I'm a huge believer in acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I remember even when I got my um, first few casting jobs, and I post about them, I kept posting about the people
Yeah.
who actually got them for me, or the first job, or here. Um, yeah, I think that's so important because that is your. I think it goes back to having your village, and
Yeah.
you can't forget your village because everything when you accomplish something, whatever it is, there's a group of people,
Yeah.
even when you sometimes may not remember or think about it, that assisted you in getting there.
Yeah.
Maybe not hands on, but something they did, something they said.
Mm. Like even writing a book, which,
Mhm.
can be mostly a solitary thing unless you're co-writing something. But then you have an editor and you have people that supported you along your journey that the acknowledgement in the book, right?
Oh yeah, I remember when I first started sharing that, and you and I were in Create. I
Oh,
didn't even want to talk about it. I was almost embarrassed about it, and people finally like pried it out of me, and everybody was so happy. I thought I was going to get laughed at,
yeah.
and people thought it was wonderful. It was like,
Yeah,
okay, so I
exactly.
came out of the closet on that one. And I mean that's another thing that you uh, about getting older. It's like you have less fear. If you're scared for a few minutes, or let's say if you have an audition or performance that you didn't think was your best, you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm bored. 5 minutes of
Yeah.
whatever. And I remember in my younger days, you really carry it around for so long.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't. It's great now. One thing is that I don't have patience for is to indulge in those things anymore. I'll give it time because they're there. I'm not going to pretend,
Right.
they're not there, but you do walk away from it faster.
Yeah. So, Helene, what have you found the most valuable about our time together so far?
Well, what's most about you? Well, first of all, you've actually posed some questions that had me examine things that I really didn't, that I knew, but I really didn't think about. So I really appreciate that. And you shared, I think we both like those kind of, philosophy, spiritual statements and descriptions and things like that. But I heard some new ones from you, and I hope you heard some new ones from me. And so that I love that. I think that's because I think that's behind everything. Even I know you're concentrating on artists, but even if you're not an artist, that that's in every walk of life.
Oh, I think that all of us have a creative uh,
Yes.
spark in us, no matter what job we choose.
Mm-hmm.
Like CPAs are creative with numbers, and there's architects are creative with design. I mean, there's all sorts of flower
Creativity.
arrangers are creative. There's gardening. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's engineers. Everybody has a creative spark
That's true. And a passion.
and a passion, and the
Yes.
and the idea is to follow that passion, follow what is pulling at you, notice your longing, notice your discontent.
Hmm.
And when you start to notice it, notice how it makes you feel. And if it's expansive, go for it. If it's contractive, maybe think of something else that
Hmm.
that's if what you're doing is making you feel crappy.
Right. Yeah.
Start looking at what is going to make you happy and try to
Yeah.
do it, even if you're doing it a little bit on the side. If you can't go for it all the way, do it a little bit, because I think that what makes us come alive helps us grow, and it has a ripple effect with the people around us, and it makes life better.
Hmm. Hmm. I know, I agree. I sometimes, would look at some of society today, and there's just a lot of the, polarization. And it seems a lot of the anger is coming out. And I know a lot of times they say what's under anger is fear.
Here.
But I also look at it, and I look at it as a lack of passion, actually,
Mm,
because I feel like there's a lot of people who are walking around who are not feeling good about themselves.
mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not super religious. Some people are saying, oh, we don't have enough religion, blah, blah, blah. But even the ones who say they are, I'm going to pick a quote where it says, love thy neighbor as thyself. But if you don't do the second part, you're not
Yeah,
going to do the first part.
correct.
And so that's what I feel a lot what's missing nowadays in people.
Yeah,
And I think, we're lucky that we not only have people in our lives, but we have a passion that keeps us going. I mean, remember when I was younger, when things weren't going well, you're a kid, or, those preteen years,
yeah,
I would take the wooden spoon out and stand in front of our full-length mirror in the living room and belt out, and put the radio on, and I'm singing. But that was one of my outlets,
yes, yeah,
beside writing. And I even draw. I wish I even had some more time to paint, because I like doing it. I don't do it enough. But, but I realized then what made me feel good.
yes, yeah. Find more of that in your life and
Hmm.
be a happier person, and attract more of the things that you want in your life.
Yeah. Because like you said, when you feel good about yourself,
Yeah.
like when you say, oh, this makes me feel good, I feel good, that gives you the strength to
Yeah.
go
And
on.
and you mentioned religion, and there are multiple religions
Mhm.
in our societies, but it's this spiritual thread that runs through all of them that is the same, and it's love,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So starting with loving who you are
Mhm.
will m- make you see the best in others and share that love, and you know all you need is love, as the
All you
song.
need is love, baby. It all goes back down to that. It's always, well, it's always the simplest things that are sometimes hard to
Love
find,
or
to
fear.
discover.
Yeah,
Yes, so
it's
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the opposite of love isn't hate, it's fear.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I have enjoyed our
Love
conversation
this.
very much, and I've
Thank you.
loved hearing about all of your projects. Helene, where can people learn more about you and find
Oh,
out about your projects?
I would love to say my website, except I haven't updated it. I
Okay.
think if you just Google my name, a lot of the things will come up. I didn't realize, I've done several podcasts and interviews and things. Somebody said, "Do you have a YouTube channel?" And I said, "I think so." So I actually Googled myself yesterday and I said, "Oh, okay, all these things came out."
Okay.
Um, yeah, so as I said, you can look at my website, which is helenegalek.org, but it's not updated. So things about my play or anything like that. I think if you just Google my name, hopefully it'll all come up.
And
See,
it's
that's another thing I have to get done next month. Update website.
or hire somebody who can help you do it.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's true.
Okay. So it's Helene, Helene,
ENE
and
and
then
Gaelic is Galek.
okay. We'll
Gaelic.org.
I'll
Yeah,
put it in the notes so people can find you.
wonderful.
And
Thank
then we will look for Requiem for a Bench
uh-huh.
on February 24th, 27th, and March 2nd of 2024.
Right. And then you could always, for that, you can always Google the Chain Theater
Same
One
thing.
Act Festival. And yeah, they'll have all the information. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for this. This is lovely. This is wonderful.
Well, I'm happy that you said yes and that we got
Yes,
this time together.
I know. And hopefully we'll see each other in real life soon.
Yes, that'd be
Yes,
great.
that'd be great. Thanks, Amy.
You're welcome. Thank you.